have been to heaven many times and saw interesting things. On my second visit, I have been to a large building where they record my prayers. How did I get to heaven? You can visit heaven as a fantasy with a dream, or visiting heaven spiritually. I'm sure many of you have seen the heaven garden through your daily dreams. In heaven, there was a prayer book for everyone in a large place like a Roman palace. An angel asked me, "Do you want to see your book too?" And I hesitated. Actually, I was not the type to pray for that long. So I could not answer quickly because I thought I would be embarrassed if I prayed less. So when I hesitated, Angel found my prayer book. All prayers were recorded on the days, times, who, where, and what kind of prayer they had. The angel said to me, "It is not recorded when you prayed. It is recorded that you prayed in the Spirit on all occasions." I was relieved. It was stated that I prayed in the Spirit on all occasions, which made me puzzled. I was always one of those who thought there was a lack of prayer. And the angel said that God was most pleased with the prayer that united across denominations, and that he was also happy to come to the church and pray. After that, I learned that all prayers were recorded in the Lord's memorial book. Then those who feared the Lord talked with each other, and the Lord listened and heard. A scroll of remembrance was written in his presence concerning those who feared the Lord and honored his name. Malachi chapter 3 and verse 16. Angels' work were divided, such as angels who get prayers from people who pray from the earth, and angels who recorded them in the book of prayer. I have since called the prayer-saving book for the prayers recorded in heaven. The prayer will live without dying and be used for our children when there is an emergency or need. Prayer is alive and recorded in the Lord's scroll of remembrance. I believe that prayer is like a seed we plant in heaven. There is life in prayer, and that life will not be snuffed out. Rather, it will bear much fruit. That is why I believe that when we plant prayers within our children, they will bear much fruit, according to 2 Corinthians 9, 6, 7. If we sow the eternal things, we will reap eternal life. If we sow things of the flesh, we will reap decay. Ultimately, prayer will never falter. The seeds of prayer that you sow for your children will remain to bless them, even after you have left this earth. Prayer cannot die. Parents leave good and bad legacies as their children's inheritance. It may be an inheritance of faith or a legacy of addictions. The most beautiful memory I have is that of my parents praying. I remember the times when my parents were happy, angry, or serious. But of all those times, the memory of my parents' prayers has left the deepest impression upon me. I cannot forget how my mother would pray every night for her children. When my mother faced difficulties, I remember her softly crying as she prayed. I feel more confident now knowing that my parents had prayed for me all of those years. Even when I became an adult, and there were very difficult times in my ministry, I just wanted to give up. However, I would remember the image of my mother praying, and I would be greatly encouraged. That is what I want to leave to my children also. These days, people leave their wealth to their children and to charities. Sometimes leaving an inheritance with the children causes fights among siblings. My parents did not leave any wealth to us. The one thing that my father left was a large collection of books which he willed to a seminary library. The little money and a few gold rings that my mother had were given to the poor before she died. The greatest inheritance my parents left us was a life of faith. They showed us through their lives that the most precious thing in life was to serve God. They willed to us a life of church community, prayer, praise, and helping seminary students. Our unique legacy is the numerous seminarians my father helped when he was a seminary professor. This kind of legacy has enriched our lives deeply. Children live their lives just as they saw their parents live. Parents become their children's lifelong teachers. That is why the greatest inheritance we can leave our children is prayer. This kind of inheritance cannot be wasted or squandered. I hope that you can have this kind of theological foundation as you pray for your children. This book was written to aid parents to pray for specific biblical blessings for their children. I suggest that you hold your children's hands as you pray for them, or lay your hands on their head. I believe that you are planting prayers when you pray with your children, and it helps them to grow spiritually.